Hey guys, it's Lana from Habitat for Humanity of Burlington, Mercer County. I am your programs director, and I am here today to talk about gardening. I love gardening, and we're a little obsessed in our house. So I figured I would show you around our yard, kind of give you an idea of the difference between perennials and annuals, and kind of give you a wide variety of all the different plants that I have growing right here at my house. Now, we are a little obsessed. I actually have a binder that has all of the plants and flowers that we have planted over time, because if there's something that I didn't like, I want to make sure I know where it is. All of my bulbs tells me where I planted them in the back of what it was. Kind of puts an idea of where I want to put new things. And it also tells me how big things are going to get, because we have a lot of different varieties of the same type of plant. And just because one variety may be a miniature or a mid-grade plant doesn't mean that all of them are. So some of them can be really big, and some of them may stay pretty small. So I am going to bring you around my yard, show you what we have, and give you an idea of what you should plant in your yard. So right here we have two of our, actually 3 plants right here. We have a type of Japanese maple. This variety will stay narrow. It's going to stay about 3 feet wide. It's going to be a very narrow plant, but it's going to grow to be about 10 to 12 feet tall. So it's going to cover most of my chimney in the back. I also have bee balm down here. Bee balm will bloom once, usually for about 4 weeks max, and come in these bright blooms. And then all the way back here, I have a sweet potato vine, and I'll show you more of them throughout my yard. Those are an annual, so you'll plant them every year if you choose to, but I like the way that they become ground covers. You'll see this one back here is actually pretty big. The ones in my pots are pretty big, but my ones in my front didn't get as much water, so they did not get as large, but I love the way that they cover the ground as they continue to grow every year. So here is another section of my yard. We have a couple of different annual or perennial plants here. So we have planted a lot of things that we're going to come back year after year and continue to get bigger. So the first plant here is a iris. The iris is a nice grass in the summer, and in the spring it gives these itty bitty little purple flowers on the top. So it's really pretty in the summer. It kind of gives you that glimpse of summer as they come in. The grass turns green and grows quickly in the summer. I think the iris is probably sprouted in early May, maybe the end of April, and they last for a couple of weeks and then they go away. But these irises continue to grow. So after the little purple flower pops up, it starts drying and it drops more seeds, and those seeds become more plants. So you will see irises all through my yard, because we've got all different groupings. I've got ones here, I've got ones here, I've got ones on the other side, and they just keep growing. So this year actually I'm going to be cutting them down in the fall, and I'm going to be subdividing them because I've got such big plots of them now that I'm going to spread them out a little more. Back here I have a lilac bush. This will probably get to be another 2 feet taller and wider. It gets really big, and it gets these beautiful big purple blooms in the spring that smell delightful. Here is a pygmy butterfly bush. It's a pygmy because it is small. It's not going to get much taller. At the max on this type of variety is going to be about 4 feet tall and 4 feet wide. This is a new plant for us. You see all the pretty flowers on it. We have it in just purple for this one. Do I have purple and pink? Oh, I might have pink too, I forget. In this variety, there's a lot of purple, and you do get a lot of big bumblebees, and I do get a lot of butterflies on this. Our crepe myrtles, I have 7 altogether on our property. So the crepe myrtles will get these big, huge, beautiful blooms. I hope you can see them. They start out as a little tiny berry, and then they blossom into these flowers. And we have them both in this fuchsia color, and we also have them in a pink. My pink ones haven't bloomed yet, but I'll turn you around so you can see them. But we have a couple of those trees, and I love the way that they look. They don't smell like the lilac bushes do, but they give these bright, beautiful colors, and they will continue to get bigger. They'll get to be about 15 to 20 feet tall. Okay, I had to take you off of my tripod for this because of the way that this bed is set up. So this bed is a giant, huge bed, and it has a ton of different things. So we're gonna start behind me. This is a type of magnolia tree. This magnolia tree is indigenous, which means that every year it's gonna lose its little leaves. We don't have any blooms on it right now. They came out probably a month ago in June. This tree does not get as full as a regular magnolia tree and will lose its leaves every year. But it's at my end of my bed, so it frames it really nicely for the summer. This tree will get to be about 20 feet tall when it's mature. Down here I have another ground cover. This is called lamb's ear. I'm gonna see if I can show you the way that it feels, because it's like a lamb's ear. It looks like it, it feels like it, and they get big. You'll see I have a bunch of them back there. I have them throughout the yard. That's another plant that every year we kind of subdivide it and see if it continues to grow and get bigger, and they do. They kind of grow like weeds. They get really big, and the deer don't like them because they have such a fuzzy coat to them that they don't like anything that has a sticky or fuzzy coat to them. They go for regular leaves to eat. The next thing over here is this is actually a mid-grade butterfly bush, but this is a new one for us. We have this in a light purple and a light pink variety. We planted 4 of these new ones this year. And this one will get to be between 4 and 6 feet tall when it's new, when it's full grown. But like I said, this is brand new. We actually planted this one this year. All right, here is more of the bee balm. So afterwards, this bee balm just kind of becomes a little bit of a stub at the top. But in the spring, they've got some really beautiful flowers with them. All right, coming over, now I've got all of my cone flowers. The cone flowers I actually bought in a bag from Home Depot. I want to say there was 10 or 15 roots in the bag for like 20 bucks. But they have all grown in so beautifully, and most of my colors are a purple variety or a maroon variety. I love them. They're really a nice dark flower, and there's always bumblebees surrounding them. The bush back here, right there past the tree, that actually gets these really cool flowers that bloom only in the spring for a very short period of time, but come in a pink, a white, and a yellow. It's really cool looking. Above me is a hydrangea tree. These trees are about 3 years old. They are probably just 7 or 8 feet tall now. They'll get to be about 12 feet tall when they're done. And in the summer, as they continue to grow, they will get huge, big blooms. So you can see right now, they've got a light pink bloom on them. But like I said, that's a hydrangea tree. I do have other hydrangeas around the property that I'll show you, but that one's a tree, and it gets really tall, nice big bark, and it'll give us a nice glow at the end. Oh, I forgot, I have another butterfly bush back here. Let's see if I can show you. This is my big butterfly bush. We have 2 of these on our property. They get really big. So this is a giant variety. Really, really, really dark blooms. I don't know if you can see them. Really, really dark blooms. In the winter, we cut it down to the bottom. So all that you see here is all brand new growth, and this will get to be about 10 feet tall when it's fully grown. But every year we cut it down to the stalks at the bottom. You can see the stalks at the bottom. We cut it down, and then every year it comes back and it grows and grows and grows. It's beautiful when it's all done, said and done. All right, so this plant here is a quick fire dogwood. And I have a couple of these in different locations in our house because they do lose their leaves. And when they lose their leaves in the fall, the bark of the tree becomes a bright red. So I like it because in the winter time, I have something pretty to look at. They're not just dead sticks up there, because a lot of my stuff I have to cut back. All of my butterfly bushes, some of my other bushes I have to cut down. The bee balm I have to cut down to the bottom so that it grows back. But I don't like to have nothing sitting in my yard. So these are quick fire dogwoods. There's two different varieties of these. The one gets to be about 3 to 4 feet tall. The other, which is this one, will get to be 4 to 6 feet tall. I have both varieties on our property. We love them. We think that they are really pretty, and as they grow, they get really tall and big. This is another one of our magnolia trees. We have 2 of these type. This is a evergreen magnolia. And this magnolia tree will get to be about 30 to 40 feet tall when it's fully grown. It had the most beautiful blooms on it, which I'm trying to see. There's none on it right now. We just had a rainstorm, so a lot of the stuff isn't fully bloomed yet. Come down here, we've got a couple of little hydrangeas. These hydrangeas we planted last year. So they're not going to be terribly big this year, but this is it's called a little lime hydrangea bush. We've got a couple of these on the property as well. And the little limes will get a nice bright white flower on them, but right now, because they're called little limes, they're like little lime colored petals. They will get white as they mature. And this plant will get between 2 to 4 feet tall, which is just about 2 feet tall now, but it'll get a little bigger as we grow. You can see back there, we have more of our little lamb's ears. We also have another magnolia tree. Now that magnolia tree will stay trim. It's a Southern Belle, I believe it's called. That one will stay thin, but will get tall. It'll get about 20 to 30 feet tall, but it's only going to get to be about 5 to 6 feet wide. We've got ferns all over the place. This is a leather leaf plant. It has a nice little white flower on it. Oh, let me see if I can get some of the butterflies to come back to our butterfly bush here. So this is another butterfly bush that we have. I don't know if you can see any of those butterflies that are over there. So a lot of the butterfly bushes we try to keep in a very natural state so that we don't add a lot of weed killers or preventatives. We want to make sure that the butterflies and the bees are getting the nutrients that they need and not the chemicals that they don't. So we don't use a lot of fertilizers on our yard. If we do, we use a lot of sugar because sugar is a great fertilizer for our animals, or for our bees and butterflies. All right, coming up, this bed is big. Like I told you guys, this is a huge bed. But here I have a few more of our cone flowers. And I've got another one of those hydrangea trees. In the back there, you'll see another magnolia to match the second magnolia I showed you. And then over there, I have a third magnolia tree. So those trees, what our plan is those trees, those 5 trees, are gonna get so big that they're gonna block out the neighbor. And then all these colorful blooms will all come in and give us a nice background against the trees in the back. Okay, so now we're at another flower bed of mine. It is my little fish pond. We have hens and chickens over here. Hens and chickens grow constantly, even through the winter when they look like they're dormant. Right now they're starting to get the stickers because they had just bloomed. So after they bloom, which I'm trying to see, they don't, there's a couple little flowers in here. I don't know if you can see them. After they bloom, they get this sticker on the top, and the sticker is actually part of its seed. So it keeps growing that way. Here, we decided to put something tropical in, and we put in gladiolus. Gladiolus is a bulb. They run really cheap. They're at Home Depot or Lowe's for probably 20 bulbs for 20 bucks, sometimes even cheaper than that. And they do fall over, which we could see a couple of them have fallen over from how heavy they get, but they give us a really beautiful bloom. Behind my gladiolus, those bushes there, those are skip laurels. They are an evergreen and a beautiful plant for a hedge or something that you're trying to block out, like trash cans. In this case, because it's our pond, we're actually trying to block out our cars that are on the other side. So it's even just to give a little bit of privacy in the backyard. They get a nice big bloom in the spring and they fade out after time. What I do like is the deer tend to not eat them unless you live at my house, which they decide to. On the other side of our pond is another one of those at the top there. That is another one of those quick fire dogwoods, because again, I like those. We have some cone flowers that are coming up. This plant is actually older. This is a 3-year-old plant, and you can see it's much stronger and bigger than the other ones that I showed you earlier. Those other ones I showed you earlier were planted this past year. And then one of the only flowers that I have in my yard that are annuals are my petunias. I had pansies there in the spring and petunias there in the fall. Over here we have another type of Japanese maple. He's huge. I give him a haircut all the time and it doesn't matter, he gets bigger and bigger. We do trim him up, and in the winter he turns a really nice shade of red before he loses his leaves by Christmas. We do keep some vegetables, so we have a tomato in a pot over here, and we've got some wonderful herbs over there. Alright guys, I'm in the front of my yard now, and here's where you have a ton of trees. So I'm going to start showing you. On this side we have a cherry tree. This one and its sister on the other side actually got hit by lightning, and we're trying to save them, but we may not. We have some pin oaks in the back there. They are actually one of those trees that are getting attacked by those little bugs, the little spotted lanternflies. So we actually have some preventative stuff on them. In this front bed, because it gets a lot of shade, we are doing some gladiolus in the back. We had some really cool oriental lilies that were up in the front, and the deer ate them. And then the other thing that we have is another little ground covering. We had a ton of hostas and the deer ate them too. So we have 3 brand new trees that we got this past year that I'm going to show you so you could see them. This is a magnolia tree. She didn't bloom for us this year, but she is about 12 feet tall now. She will get to be about 30 to 40 feet tall when she is done growing. We have this little guy who's having a little sad day. He hasn't been growing like we had hoped, but his twin over on this side is called a coral bark or a burning bark Japanese maple. It's got a pretty yellow leaf to it, and in the winter, again, it's got this bright coral bark, so it gives us something pretty to look at in the winter. In the front here, because my yard keeps going on, this is a crepe myrtle bush. So just like those big trees that you saw in the back and the other ones I'm going to show you in a minute, this is crepe myrtle bush. So it's not going to get taller than what it is, but it will come up with those same blooms. It's actually in the process of starting to get the little berries that bloom. So we'll start seeing those very soon. Back here behind the crepe myrtle bushes, we have quick fire dogwoods as well. That is the taller variety, so that's getting to be 6 feet tall, which is just about as tall as me now, which is sitting nicely with our crepe myrtle bushes in the front. Over here we have the quick fire dogwood, the smaller variety. We have a leather bush here. We've got another little Japanese maple. These tall plants here are called Liatris. You only put a couple little bulbs in the ground for them. They're pretty cheap. They're at Home Depot. And I think I bought 50 bulbs for $20. And we've gotten all of these great blooms from that. And they'll continue to grow every year. Down here is, you see here, this is a peony bush. This is a brand new bush for us this year, and she hasn't gotten any blooms for us, but we bought 3 of them at the clearance sale at ShopRite, believe it or not. And over time, these will get to be about 36 inches tall every spring, and they'll produce a really nice big bloom. We've got more skip laurels that come back to this little area here, and we've got another crepe myrtle. So this is a crepe myrtle bush or tree that is pink. My other one is more of a golden rusted red. This one has those big pink blooms, and she's much taller. She's probably 12 feet, 15 feet now, so she's really big. What else do I have back here? Let me show you. Oh, we've got a couple little bushes here which aren't anything special that bloom. We also have, oh, I forget the name of this. Oh, a lotus tree. That's what that is. He's had this here for years. It's like 20 years old. It's a big old tree. And then the same magnolia tree that we have in the front, we also have in the back, but she's really big. She's 20 years old, and she's probably about 30 feet tall and 30 feet wide. She's huge. I don't know if she's got any more blooms on it. Let me just take a quick peek. She doesn't have any more blooms, but you can see, you see all the big feathers over here, all these big things. Those were all big, huge blooms. As the blooms die off, they get these seeds on them, and that's the seeds for trees for planting for later on. We've never actually harvested any of the trees or any of the seeds, but that would be the seeds afterwards. A couple more things back here. There's skip laurels that I have in the front. These ones are called cherry laurels. The cherry laurels get fat and wide. The skip laurels get tall and skinny. So the fat cherry laurels we put back here, they've gotten huge, a lot of new growth. You can see all that, those bright green leaves. The bright green leaves are the new growth. So you can see we have a ton of new growth on that plant. This one's kind of taken a beating. This was a hydrangea bush, but the landscapers have kind of killed it off for me. But that is my yard here in Glen Mills, Pennsylvania. I wanted to be able to show you all the different types of plants you can start looking at. So you see how as things get older, even though the perennial plants cost a little more, they do come back year after year, and they grow bigger and bigger every year. I hope you enjoyed this little segment for us today. And if you have any plant questions, I would be glad to answer them. Talk to you soon. Thanks.